If you've ever played poker, you already know the rules of the game are simple. Once those cards hit the table, you're left with just two choices. You fold and walk away, or you sack up, throw the chips in, and pray to God you've got the better hand. For years, the Nelk boys have done exactly that, going all in again and again, each hand raising the stakes higher than before. For them, it was always about going against the grain, doing things their way system. It was reckless, it was risky, and it was something nobody else had the balls to try. But it paid off big time, because they forged one of the most fiercely loyal fan bases ever seen on this platform. But somewhere along the way, the risk turned into routine. The edge dulled, and what started as a rebellion started to look a lot more like greed.
Tomorrow, we are going to be announcing our NFT project.
The Metacard wasn't just an NFT. It was a golden ticket, a digital pass to whatever Full Send built next. Dozens of ideas, endless promises, but the real pitch was simple. Buy in now and be a part of history later. And it worked, because in just 10 minutes, Nelk raked in $23 million. That's 38 grand every goddamn second. And then they vanished, pulled the plug, and disappeared.
I'm really curious to know where that money went.
Do you think that they're bad people and their intentions from the start were to walk out with $23 million and do nothing?
I mean...
If you really want to understand how this all started, you have to go back. Way back to July 6th, 2010, when a 16-year-old kid named Kyle Forgeard, growing up in the suburbs of Ontario, decided to roll the dice on YouTube. He grabbed a couple of childhood friends, a cheap camera, and launched a channel called Nelk. No plan, no real roadmap, just a bunch of kids chasing a feeling. Around the same time, just a few towns over, another kid named Jesse Sebastiani was making moves of his own. MTV had greenlit a new series called Careless Teens, 8 episodes of homegrown stunts and chaos, shot on nothing but handheld cameras in the middle of Shelburne. It was basically Jackass for small town Canada, and Jesse was the star of it. Nelk started out as a free-for-all, prank videos one day and short films the next. But as Kyle finished high school and gave film school a shot, something started to click. The channel was building momentum, and Kyle realized something. He didn't need a degree to make a living online. He just needed to go all in. So he dropped out, and soon after, those two small-town kids chasing the same dream finally crossed paths. Jesse's background in pulling off idiotic stunts and reckless pranks, cut from the same cloth as Jackass, brought an edge to Nelk that most YouTubers couldn't fathom. And their first video together perfectly encapsulates that. A prank on strangers in public, where the boys quite literally lit themselves on fire and blamed innocent bystanders. Was it the best idea ever? No, but YouTube isn't about making sense. It's about getting people to click. From there, they followed that same strategy, with each video elevating the shock value. From pranking cops with donuts to ordering pizzas to fake meth labs, each stunt grew louder, riskier, and more absurd than the last. And in doing so, they carved out a lane that no one else dared to touch. The bad boys of YouTube.
A practical joke could have consequences when the targets are police officers. Tonight, a prank against the LAPD has gone viral online, and the department is speaking out.
What you guys up to?
Nothing, just...
The what?
Nothing.
Huh?
Oh my God.
Pat, the video posted online has already received tens of thousands of views.
Is your buddy back here okay?
I don't know. Yeah, he's fine. You're fine.
The pranksters say it was all harmless fun, but the LAPD is not laughing.
I can't do this. I can't do this.
Man.
We have a bunch of coke in the back. I'm sorry.
Dude.
A bunch of coke in the
I'm
back?
sorry.
Kyle.
All right. Okay, man. Step out of the... We're going to do this one by one.
One of the officers starts to handcuff them, the other goes around to check the trunk. Instead of cocaine, it is just Coca-Cola.
This video mattered for a dozen reasons. It didn't just blow up on YouTube, it blew outside of it. Mainstream news picked it up, headlines in the Daily Mail, Cosmopolitan, Inside Edition. It racked up over 50 million views and became one of the most talked about uploads on the platform. But for Kyle and Jesse, it meant more than views. It was validation, a green light.
We're gonna what? Take over in 6 months. We're gonna kill it. We're gonna kill it. Team Nelk on top. Cheers.
But here's what they don't tell you about green lights. They don't always take you straight to the finish line. That moment didn't change their lives overnight. It didn't come with a golden ticket or a fat paycheck. What it gave them was potential. Possibility. It dropped them in this awkward in-between, where they're too big to be nobodies, but not big enough to walk away from everything else. And every creator eventually ends up here, in no man's land. The numbers are promising, the audience is growing, you're close enough to taste it, but not close enough to leap. Jump too early and you crash, too late and you miss the wave. And honestly, that's exactly where we've been. Countless hours scripting, filming, and editing, dumping every dollar back into the channel. We've turned down dozens of brand deals, not because we couldn't use the money, but because we're still building the foundation of what this thing even is. But recently something's changed. The right partner showed up, one that believed in what we're doing and wanted to help take it farther. So for our very first brand deal, we wanted to do something a little different. We teamed up with Underdog for the next stretch of the NBA playoffs, but instead of doing a boring ad read, they put $250 into our account and made it a challenge.
Every conference finals game, we're locking in entries live. Can we flip $250 into $2,500, or will we crash and burn by game 2?
If you're new to Underdog, it's all about player projections. Just call your shot by picking higher or lower on 2 or more players' stats for a shot to win real money.
And for game 1, here's what we ran. Brunson higher than 23.5 points, Cat 19.5, SGA 26.5, and Tyrese Halliburton higher than 7.5 assists. And 1 game in, we're in the green.
Games 2 and 3 though didn't quite go to plan. We're down $70. And I'm not naming any names, but Julius Randle, you
But anyways, it's game 4 tonight, and we're switching up our strategy with Rivals mode, which is basically head-to-head matchups.
And what that means is that we don't need Julius Randle to drop at least 20 points. We just need Chet to outscore him. Alright, so the NBA playoffs have wrapped up, and we ended not too far from where we started at about $280, but hey, we'll take it. The Thunder and Pacers are headed to the NBA Finals, and I believe Game 1 is actually the same day that we're uploading this video. So if you want to have some extra fun, head over to Underdog and use promo code golfcart to get up to $1,000 in bonus funds when you make your first deposit, plus a free pick. It's been a ton of fun using Underdog throughout this entire challenge. I mean, it's definitely made following along with the series 10 times more exciting. So shout out to Underdog for sponsoring the channel, and let's get back to the video. Every dollar Nelk made went straight back into the channel. Flights, props, gear, videographers. They started bouncing from city to city, campus to campus, chasing the next high, the next headline. Across Canada, down into the States, wherever they had to go to pull off the next big prank. And as the views kept climbing, so did the lifestyle. No more crashing in cars or sleeping on fans' couches. Now it was hotel rooms and Airbnbs.
We're gonna get a beer pong table out here soon.
After 3 long years in the social media rat race, it finally felt like they'd made it. Like they could take a second just to breathe. But something was on the horizon, something that would choke the life out of YouTube itself. In early 2017, the London Times dropped a headline that hit like a Molotov. Big brands fund terror through online adverts. Catchy, terrifying, and just true enough to start a fire. As it turns out, extremist, racist, and hate-filled videos on YouTube were being accidentally sponsored by the likes of Mercedes, Honda, and Pepsi. Yeah, soft drinks and sedans paying for jihadist rants. And the backlash was immediate. From Madison Avenue to Silicon Valley, panic spread like a wildfire. AT&T pulled out, Verizon ghosted, Johnson & Johnson hit the eject button so fast you'd think they just discovered asbestos in the comments section.
Well, Google could lose as much as $750 million because of its advertiser boycott.
YouTube, caught mid-free fall, did what every tech giant does under pressure. They overcorrected.
We apologize when anything like that happens. We don't want it to happen, you don't want it to happen, and we take responsibility for it.
YouTube immediately bent over. What can we change? How can we please you advertisers so you'll continue to advertise on this platform?
New monetization rules dropped like a morality sledgehammer. Suddenly you couldn't swear, couldn't stage a slap, anything even adjacent to violence, drugs, or sex. Age restricted, demonetized, buried.
The secret Lambo that no one can buy, YouTube has deemed that video not suitable for most advertisers.
And worst of all, this wasn't human moderation, it was an algorithm wired to shoot first and ask questions later.
But you're telling me hundreds of thousands of dollars that should have been mine just because your robotic algorithm hates my videos?
Videos vanished, ad dollars dried up, creators got slapped with demonetization notices faster than they could refresh their dashboards.
Why is my income being affected even though I'm doing the same thing I've always done and I wasn't part of the problem to begin with?
Now if you're someone like Casey Neistat, this was just an annoying PR blip. Stay clean, play nice, and the ad dollars will soon come trickling back. But if you're Nelk, if your entire brand is the chaos, suddenly you're not just demonetized, you're blacklisted.
What was the list of stuff you can't include in your videos?
Pretty much everything we do, you know, swearing, like drinking, smoking, even making jokes about that kind of stuff. It has to be for kids.
Unless you're basically Barney on YouTube or Arthur, you're not gonna make money.
Ultimately, they had 2 choices. Bend the knee to the almighty YouTube algorithm, rebrand, repackage, and pretend you were ever advertiser friendly in the first place. Or say f the whole system.
So what we've decided to do is we've started a Nelk Kickstarter page.
You see, the typical influencer business model looks like this. 3 income streams: brand partnerships, YouTube ad revenue, and merch. Nelk cut out 2 of the legs, leaving them fully dependent on their fans to survive.
So basically you can go on that website right now and you can donate and you can help support us, keep us going.
And it worked. Over 175 supporters stepped up to raise $7,912 in their Kickstarter campaign. And sure, some of them donated enough to get a t-shirt or a hoodie, but what they were really buying was time. Just enough to keep the fire burning. The tour across North America rolled on. Cross-country mayhem, next-level pranks, and algorithm-defying uploads. Nelk passed the 1 million subs and even landed a bedroom to live in at the legendary Cloud House, paid for by none other than Ricky Banks. But as the months went on and the Kickstarter money began circling the drain, most would have panicked, cut the cameras, and called it a wrap. But Kyle and Jesse weren't built like that. They weren't waiting around for a bailout, and they'd actually been quietly building the next move for months. And in late 2017, they dropped it.
Guys, if you're watching this video, merch is live, finally.
The drops were limited edition, with a premium feel. It was supreme by way of YouTube. This wasn't slap a logo on a tee merch, it was a statement, made for diehards, the ones who didn't just watch Nelk, but lived it. And full send became the uniform of that movement.
Yeah, I f with this heavy.
By their second merch drop, 2,000 hoodies vanished off the site in under 33 minutes. Gone, like Ferris Bueller on a day off.
Holy that is actually insane. You gotta show them this 9 to 5.
Kids were so desperate to get their hands on the drop that eBay listings started showing up for $500 a pop.
Holy That's shit. Insane.
Boys, if you're gonna want Nelk merch, you're gonna have to like wait for that upload when we release, man.
One hoodie for $50,000. That's not fashion, that's fandom weaponized. Everywhere Nelk showed up, it turned into a scene. Parties turned into riots, bars became flash mobs. They handed out merch like candy and threw stacks of cash like it was Monopoly money. It wasn't marketing, it was mayhem. And the fans, they gave back. Badges, name tags, uniforms, whatever the next prank needed, they delivered. But the farther Nelk pushed past YouTube's rules, the more inevitable it became. The system was going to fight back. Hard.
One of my favorite prank channels, Nelk, got their YouTube partnership terminated today.
Nelk dropped a video where they pretended to be Google employees, wandering the halls of the Silicon Valley HQ with fake badges, trolling other workers.
You think Google's even gonna last? I think Bing's taken over. You kind of look like a Bing kind of guy too, no?
And YouTube didn't just dislike it, they declared war. First, Nelk was dropped by their MCN, fully demonetizing their channel. Then the video disappeared, completely removed from the platform. A second strike hit their channel, a 2-week upload ban from YouTube.
Like, it gets 1 million views, and then they just take it down?
Or block you from uploading your content?
That's so annoying, man.
Just like that, the loudest voices on the platform were locked out of their own playground. But here's the thing, Nelk wasn't just some channel anymore. They were a problem, and their fans went nuclear. Tens of thousands swarmed YouTube's social medias, comments flooded in, free Nelk, YouTube, page after page, platform-wide immunity. The mob wasn't just angry, they were loyal, organized, and everywhere. YouTube tried to cut off Nelk's legs, and their fans showed up with prosthetics and a war chant.
SteveWillDoIt with us tonight. So drink, motherfucker, drink, motherfucker, drink, motherfucker, drink. So drink, motherfucker, drink, motherfucker, drink, motherfucker.
2018 was the year Nelk stopped being a YouTube channel and became a movement. They hit 2 million subscribers, sold out meetups across North America, and A-list cameos flooded their channel. Nelk wasn't just a part of the party scene anymore, they were defining it. But they were still missing one ingredient, a wildcard, a grenade. SteveWillDoIt exploded on Instagram and Twitter with challenge videos that looked like deleted scenes from a frat house fever dream. Slamming entire bottles of booze and eating like he had a death wish, it was disgusting. But it was also mesmerizing. It was everything Nelk didn't know that they needed, so they threw him into a drinking and lectures prank, and the thing detonated. One video and the fans were hooked. Overnight, Steve wasn't just a guest star, he was a main character. Kyle, Jesse, and Steve formed Nelk into a trio, and from there, it was just hit after hit after hit. From that point on, the frat presidents of the internet had a new mission, to take the throne of social media. They started pulling back from the one-dimensional shock and awe pranks, and leaned into something sharper, storytelling. More vlogs, more behind the scenes, more of them. The pranks were still the bait, but now their personalities were the hook. Each upload felt bigger, tighter, more cinematic. They brought in creative killers like Ozgod, and built out a 20-person team to keep the content machine firing on all cylinders. Scotland, Paris, Italy, a European tour filled with months of chaos, over-the-top pranks, and viral moments. It was Nelk's first run through Europe, and it cemented their spot as top-tier creators on the platform. And while they were lighting up cities overseas, they dropped their latest full-send collection. It sold out in 30 minutes. $13 million worth of merch, gone in a flash.
Oh!
132K?
People are on the website right now.
32,000 people on the website.
Right now.
And that was the moment the rest of the influencer world realized. The game had changed. What started as basic tees and hoodies had evolved into monthly drops that moved like Supreme on Adderall. Nelk had rewritten the merch playbook, releasing actual products their fans could use in their day-to-day lives. Shotgunning tools, beer funnels, lighters, pong tables. And just like that, Full Send wasn't a slogan anymore, it was a standalone brand. But the success didn't fill them. It just gave them a budget to think bigger and take more. The houses got bigger, the views grew higher. And beneath the chaos, a strategy was forming. While other creators played it safe, Nelk kept doing the unthinkable. They pushed all their chips in, again and again and again, and every time, the fans were right there behind them. No hesitations, no questions. It didn't matter the risk, didn't matter the price, the audience would foot the bill. So they kept betting on themselves, adding new faces to the lineup, leveling up the content, pushing the limits of what a controversial internet group could achieve. But this was no longer just about content. This was about control, scale, infrastructure. Building a brand off of content deemed too rated R for brands is challenging in itself, but scaling it into an empire without losing the edge, that takes precision, patience, a different kind of animal altogether. So Nelk did something no one expected. They brought in a suit. Not the kind that talks in circles or checks your budget before your vision, but the kind that plays the long game. Quiet, calculated, cold-blooded with a smile.
John Shahidi.
John Shahidi came in.
John Shahidi is an incredible networker and connected individual.
John Shahidi has spent decades working alongside Hollywood A-listers. Before the term creator economy took off, he was building apps for names like Mike Tyson and Chad Ochocinco, helping turn celebrities into tech products. When Vine shut down, he gave its top creators, Rudy Mancuso, Anwar Jabawi, Lele Pons, and Hannah Stocking, a second act on YouTube. But the centerpiece of it all was Justin Bieber.
Yo, we in Canada, baby, hometown. We got Major up here, we got Johnny. We got Samuel.
He was more than just a client. Bieber partnered with Shahidi to launch Shots of Me, a selfie-sharing app that in some ways anticipated BeReal. No comments, no public likes, just raw front-facing camera posts in a tightly controlled space. Shahidi wasn't just building platforms, he was engineering the environments his talent moved through.
John Shahidi, brilliant guy.
Kyle and the Nelk boys brought in John Shahidi to help engineer their next big swing, Happy Dad.
Boys, we made a fucking seltzer.
When you're the face of the internet's party scene, alcohol brands don't just reach out. They throw 8-figure checks at you to drink their beer online. But Nelk wasn't looking to rent their image out. They wanted ownership. They wanted scale. They wanted $1 billion beverage brand with their name on the can.
We didn't really want to call it like Nelk Seltzer or like Full Send Seltzer. We were all putting ideas in the group chat and someone said Happy Dad.
Happy Dad was their shot at it, another entry into the seltzer's arm race, but with a twist. While other brands leaned into pastel palettes and tall, skinny cans, Happy Dad showed up looking like a beer.
No more skinny can bullshit. We don't need it in a skinny can. There's no reason for that.
Simple, familiar, built for guys who didn't want to explain what they were drinking.
We want to give it like a beer marketing kind of vibe. Like, we're trying to make this seltzer for like boys.
The branding was subtle but sharp, masculine without trying too hard, meme-friendly without being a joke, and the formula backed it up. Low sugar, added electrolytes, and a cleaner finish designed for real-world drinking. It wasn't just about selling cans, it was about building something that actually had legs.
This drink's gonna be for
everybody. Dads, moms, future dads. Anyone. A lot of future dads.
Happy Dad launched in June of 2021, and it didn't just land, it detonated.
Well, there's no problem. If you had a gun, shoot him in the head.
Go, boys! Let's go! It's a f***ing Happy Dad!
What started as a regional release in a handful of states snowballed into a national phenomenon. Within the first year, it expanded into 16 states and moved over 698,000 cases. It wasn't just a drink, it was a character in the Nelk cinematic universe. Front and center in every party montage, every Full Send podcast episode, every chaotic night was fueled by Happy Dad. Stores couldn't stock it fast enough. Fans chased restock trucks like it was Yeezy Season 1. Shelves emptied in hours. Resellers flipped cases online. Happy Dad merch was gone in minutes. Momentum kept snowballing. New flavors dropped. Demand surged. In its first full year, Happy Dad sold over 31.2 million cans, bringing over $46.8 million in gross sales. And they weren't easing off the gas. Today, Happy Dad isn't just a seltzer, it's a top 4 titan, sitting behind only White Claw, Truly, and Topo Chico. It's the official hard seltzer of the LA Clippers, and with high-profile collabs with Snoop Dogg, Death Row Records, Drewski, and DJ Pauly D, Happy Dad became the most followed beer or seltzer brand on social media.
And look, the fans are amazing. Hey, these guys.
Steve!
What up?
I love you!
I'm like lost for words. It feels like it literally feels like a dream.
But as the numbers grew, views, merch, drink sales, so did the headcount. New offices, bigger headquarters, departments, roles, titles. Suddenly, Nelk wasn't a tight-knit crew making chaos in dorms and gas station parking lots. It was a corporation, and with that shift, the energy changed. The content wasn't about what felt exciting anymore. It was about what performed. Not what was fun, but what hit quotas. Deadlines replaced spontaneity. Spreadsheets replaced instincts. Somewhere between the boardroom meetings and strategy calls, that beautiful chaos, the kind they used to chase across college campuses with nothing but a camera and a feeling, got traded in for quarterly projections. And it started to weigh heavy, especially on Jesse.
I don't have anything, you know what I mean? So
Is that how you felt?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, for sure.
When did you start feeling that?
Probably like around my last year, I'd say.
For Jesse and Kyle, Nelk was never supposed to be a business. It was a passion project. Two kids from nowhere, trying to out-crazy each other and see if the internet would notice. The joy was in the unknown, the freedom, the reckless purity of it. But now, every upload came with pressure. Every decision came with millions watching. The character Jesse had once played so effortlessly, the party animal, the wild card, the rebel,
Oh, I smell a sin, baby!
became a mask he couldn't take off. By the time he hit his late 20s, it wasn't fun anymore. The drinking, the traveling, the same party on a different night in a different city. He had grown, but the brand wouldn't let him. So little by little, he pulled away. He sold his shares, left the company, and just like that, half of what made Nelk feel like Nelk was no longer in the room. It wasn't an announcement, it wasn't a scandal, it was a quiet exit from something that had once been a dream. And while the machine kept moving, something was missing. The spark, the soul, the feeling from that first video, when two kids lit themselves on fire and laughed like they had nothing to lose. Now, they had everything to lose, and Jesse didn't want to lose himself with it. This is where the story was supposed to end. A rise, a fall, a cautionary tale about chasing the impossible and the quiet devastation of actually catching it. But then, a few weeks into making this video, we found something. A class action, $23 million on the line, and right at the center of it all, the Nelk boys. Now, if you're as chronically online as I am, you probably remember the Full Send Metacard. Maybe it was that random Snoop Dogg concert or the vague promise of Full Send gyms popping up across the country.
The Nelk Boys NFT just launched and sold out in seconds.
At the time, the Metacard was hyped up as the next big thing in crypto. But after those clips made their rounds, I never heard about it again. Just another failed NFT project laid to rest in the digital graveyard. Or at least, that's what I assumed. Because as this lawsuit makes clear, the Full Send Metacard wasn't some flopped NFT dream. It was a playbook for vanishing with millions. On January 18th, 2022, Kyle Forjard, John Shahidi, and the Nelk crew revealed what they claimed was the next evolution of NFTs. Not cartoon monkeys or pixelated penguins, this one was all about utility, and in 24 hours, they'd be up for sale.
As we build this empire, you're one of 10,000 people that's getting access to everything that we're gonna fucking do. And I know a lot of people out there believe in us, and those are the people that we want. We want people that say, hell yeah, I would go to a Full Send hotel and casino in 5 years.
The goal, at least on paper, was simple. Build something that gave real value to cardholders, beyond Twitter clout. It was framed as a way for fans to buy into the Nelk empire, and walk away with a piece of it.
So it's kind of like they're investing and getting a return, you know?
And you're taking that money and fueling it into all these different things you're building, right?
Yeah, a ton of money.
Think of it as a decentralized stock. Skip the venture dinners, bypass the suits, Kyle could go straight to the fans, raise capital, and launch their next big brand without asking permission. When the announcement hit, Twitter lit up. Hundreds of thousands flooded into their Discord, so many that they crashed the entire server. And in a live stream that night, the details dropped. 10,000 metacards at $2,300 each.
And I want to open shit up soon. Like, I don't want this to be like, you know.
This isn't like, thank you for this tomorrow and we'll see you next year. Like, we're getting to work right away.
Ideas were tossed left and right. Lounges, gyms, sports bars, and even casinos. It seemed that with this $23 million, Full Send was gearing up for brick and mortar landmarks. Buying a Metacard wasn't just buying an NFT, it was buying a seat at the table. Cardholders got more than access and merch discounts. They got influence. They weren't just in the room, they had a say in what the room became. So after the project went live and all 10,000 Metacards sold in the first 10 minutes, then what happened?
Well, we allege that they received approximately $23 million from the sale, an additional $3 to $4 million in secondary royalties. So let's just call it $25 million total. They've got $25 million. They spent $1 million, $2 million, maybe $3 million on a concert with Snoop Dogg that a few hundred people attended, a single game suite at a football game, some merchandise, some giveaways. Let's call it $1 million or $2 million or $3 million. It doesn't matter. They then abandoned the project, we believe, and pocketed the 20 some odd million dollars.
If you go to the Metacard website, you'll find a neat little timeline. milestone after milestone of the Nelk team giving back to holders. A $100,000 giveaway, free UFC tickets, SoFi Stadium box seats for Chargers and Rams games. Metacard holders were invited to sit in on live podcast recordings, front row for headline guests like Colby Covington, Elon Musk, and Sugar Sean. Sure, they tossed out some free merch and gift cards too, but that's more or less where the program plateaued. Over time, talk of gyms disappeared, plans for lounges quietly faded, and eventually, cardholders began asking for updates, but responses became few and far between. As the broader NFT market sank into steady decline, the Metacard wasn't just slipping, it was free-falling. Its value eroded month after month, and for nearly 2 years, the bleeding was managed not with a cure, but with gauze. Quick fixes, temporary hits of dopamine, a couple more UFC tickets here, another podcast recording there, maybe a Rams game if you were lucky, but what was once sold as a $2,300 key to a digital empire turned into a glorified raffle ticket, occasional access for a microscopic fraction of holders, and even then, only when the stars aligned. In April of 2024, the Nelk team finally unveiled their masterpiece, the long-awaited empire their community had been promised. And it arrived not as full-send gyms, not as a Miami sports bar, but as beef jerky.
We have access to gas stations, convenience stores, grocery stores. What else can we do? It's a beef jerky. We're going to do something with our NFT holders that can't really get into it yet because of details, but something where our NFT holders will be a big part of this.
Now, from where I'm sitting, Board Jerky's a bit of a curveball. The origin story, allegedly, began with a Metacard holder who owned a small-time operation called Supreme Jerky. And to be clear, we're venturing into speculative territory here, but the way it's been pieced together is like this. John got involved, the two parties linked up, and the product got a facelift. Supreme Jerky's name and branding were stripped, repackaged, and reintroduced as Board Jerky. Same jerky, different label. From there, they scaled up production, threw a slick marketing wrapper on top, and rolled it out to Metacard holders like this was the next phase of the master plan.
With respect to Board Jerky, remember the preface of the Metacard was this is access to Nelk. This is access to Full Send. All of the deals that they do moving forward are going to be brought to the Metacard holders' attention, right? It gives you early access. And sure, maybe Board Jerky would have been a deal that the Metacard holders got to experience had what we believe had Nelk lived up to what they represented. But the fact that Board Jerky was, one, constantly delayed for years and years and years and years.
Right.
And two, when it did come, it was conditioned on accepting something called phantom equity, which isn't really a thing, in my opinion, and waiving your rights to the Metacard.
You see, Board Jerky wasn't just a new beginning. It was the quiet funeral for the so-called empire. When the offer finally hit the Discord, it came with two options wrapped in the language of opportunity. But if we're being honest, it felt more like a strategic exit in disguise. Option 1. Trade in your Metacard for Phantom shares in Board Jerky and become an affiliate marketer. Sounds pretty cool, right? But Phantom shares are basically the corporate equivalent of crossing your fingers. It's not real equity, just a hypothetical bonus if the company performs. And option 2 was a refund of your Metacard. But even that came wrapped in red tape. A 30-day ticking clock, a convoluted 3-step contract process where signing the first document didn't guarantee momentum. Weeks could pass before the next one even showed up in your inbox. Oh, and there was a catch. You needed a US bank account to claim the refund.
These Metacard holders were given two options, either the refund or go on with this Board Jerky, okay? What's interesting about this refund is it didn't apply to everybody. You had to have a U.S. bank account or be a U.S. citizen or something to that effect, even though a lot of the people who bought Metacards were not from the U.S. And I find it funny that these defendants in these type of cases are so particular about compliance, and it's a compliance thing when it's with respect to issuing a refund, but they had no problem taking in money from everywhere. Right? The other thing that I want to point out with respect to the refund is you have to remember this was years after the Metacard was launched, over 2 years after, and a lot of people had fallen off and not kept up with the project because so much time had passed and not anything was happening. And what you see is these defendants in this particular case only gave about 30 days to get the refund in process. So a lot of these people weren't even checking up on the Metacard process within 30 days because they had given up. So you have, one, a lot of people who missed it just because they weren't checking. Two, if people were checking, they still may or may not have qualified. And three, even the people that did qualify, we believe if you look at the refund process, they made it very difficult to comply with. In my opinion, it's probably because they wanted as little people as possible to get a refund. And then, if you look at our amended complaint, on top of all of this, we have some people who went through all of that process, who signed the agreement. We have a plaintiff in our amended complaint who signed the refund agreement, and it's signed with a Nelk representative, and then never got paid the refund.
The Board Jerky rollout and refund program weren't just some gestures of goodwill. They were the cleanup operation, a soft, strategic buyback. Through those two offers alone, Nelk managed to quietly reclaim nearly 40% of the entire NFT collection. And once they had those cards, they vanished. None of them were relisted, not one. And that wasn't an accident, that was the whole point. This wasn't about stabilizing a floor price. It was about closing the loop without making a scene. No fire sale, no announcement, just a quiet, controlled deletion. Wipe their hands clean, leave the narrative intact, and walk away like the lights are still on.
We're starting the process of opening the first full send gym in
How does that
OC.
process? Okay. How far out do you think we are from opening the OC?
6 months.
Nice. And then they'll just start coming out?
We could have like 5 to 6 this year.
That'd be
That's
wild,
crazy.
bro.
It's pretty crazy.
And the truth is, most holders lost. They invested in a community, a brand, a future that never showed up. And for 2 years, they held the line, waiting on promises. And when the end came, it didn't come with an apology, it came with paperwork and a countdown clock. But here's where the story takes a turn, because not everyone walked away with nothing. If you were paying close attention to the photos from the handful of Metacard events that did happen, you might have noticed there was one face that kept popping up. Again and again. Different events on different days, but somehow always there. At first, I figured it was just a coincidence. The same guy showing up in a few event photos. Whatever. But something about it stuck with me, so I started digging. Eventually, I landed on his LinkedIn. His name was Alec, but right there listed in his bio was regional manager at Happy Dad. And honestly, that really pissed me off, because suddenly all of those Metacard events didn't look like exclusive perks, they looked like staged marketing shoots. It made me wonder how many of those smiling faces were actual cardholders, and how many were just employees, filling space, dressed up to sell the fantasy in some lazy PR play. But it turns out that I had it backwards. He wasn't at those events because he worked for Happy Dad, he works for Happy Dad because he showed up to those events. Alright, I'm joining.
Hey, what's up?
Yo, what's going on, man? So I guess let's start, honestly, even before the Metacard. Like, how long were you a fan of Nelk before you even purchased the card in the first place?
Yeah, so I was kind of a fan of them, not super dedicated, like I wasn't a crazy super fan, but once I got to college, you go to college and everybody's got the full send flags and you're kind of like, what is this? And everyone's watching Nelk videos. Like when you're in college, that's what we talk about. Like you get with your friends, did you see the latest Nelk prank? And so that was when I kind of started like watching their videos and really becoming a fan.
When you bought, I know there was like different elements of the Metacard. Like some people were buying in as more of an investment, like to make money. And other people wanted to buy in because they wanted to hang out with the Nelk boys. Were you closer towards like more of like the fan side or more of like hard investor side of things?
I was kind of a perfect mix of everything because, like I said, I started investing in crypto back in 2017. I was a fan of Nelk, so it was kind of the perfect storm. And then at the time I was living in San Diego. So it was like, oh, there's also the chance that I get to meet these guys or meet the guys that they're friends with and kind of interact with the community. So it was literally like the perfect blend of those three things. I was like, oh yeah, this is probably something that would be worth it.
Okay, cool. So then I guess let's go through, a brief like timeline of like, you're a Happy Dad employee now. So I know when we previously spoke that you said that there was a couple events that you made it to and you made friends not only with people that worked at Nelk, but also other card holders. And you guys were able to kind of like continue to show up to more events and just built a healthy relationship from that. After the Snoop Dogg event, what was the next kind of thing that like where you started to find your way into that circle a bit more?
Yeah, 100%. So like I said, I was in San Diego and in August of that same year, they ended up doing a podcast with Elon Musk and they were all going to watch it at the headquarters, which is now our office for Happy Dad, funny enough, but they were going to do it at the Nelk Full Send headquarters. And they wanted to invite some holders really last minute. There's not very many of us that were readily available to go and also in the Southern California area. So they put it in the Discord. They're like, anyone that can make it, shoot me a DM. And I DM'd them, and they were like, all right. It was like tomorrow. It was like, show up like tomorrow, 5 p.m. if you can make it. And I was like, all right, sure. So I pulled up, and everybody was there, Kyle and John and Sam and Steiny and all those guys. So we ended up hanging out there like all night and trying some of the new flavors for Happy Dad and all this stuff, and just hanging out. And then after that, I went up there again in Orange County and hung out at a bar up there, and they ended up showing up. And then it was kind of a coincidence. It was like, oh, hey, you're here. And they remembered me, and obviously I know them. And so, after that, it just kind of was like more frequent, kind of getting hit up about things and just making friends with them and their circle as well.
Yeah. And that definitely goes to show that, you know, while Metacard wasn't great for absolutely everybody, the people, you know, similar to yourself that were able to stay active in the Discord, stay active on Twitter, stay active in all of the different groups, paying attention to the notifications and things that are being posted in there, when an opportunity did arise, you were able to capitalize on that.
Yeah, there was definitely a group of us that, you know, I won't like dox anyone, but there was definitely a group of us that were active and were positive about the group and didn't really care as much about, because you could tell there was kind of a divide in people that only cared about the gyms, the hotels, the big promises, and there was a kind of divide of people who they just kind of wanted to see what we could do in the community. Hey, can we hang out? Hey, this guy owns a business. Can we help his business out? Can we go have lunch there and kind of boost his business? Hey, this guy owns a bunch of liquor stores. Maybe we can, you know, eventually get a product in there that we own or something. It was just like, hey, let's use this as a networking opportunity and see what comes of it. And it ended up being pretty good. So
yeah, and I do think at one point you had mentioned that you ended up just deleting your Discord because of how toxic, like even like, was it people reaching out to you directly through like DMs, or was it like just in the like
it was mostly
servers?
in the Discord, but I had like 2 or 3 people that were like DMing me on there and then found me on Instagram and were DMing me on Instagram too. I still have people that DM me on on Instagram, crazy things. So but yeah, in Discord, I had to leave eventually because it wasn't the negativity, it was like the targeted stuff, and I was like, all right, like I just don't need to hear this. So,
and I can understand both perspectives where it's like, yeah, the guy that lives in England, he can't make it out to the Elon recording within 24 hours. Like that's just not realistic. But I also don't think that same person should be targeting you because you took advantage of an opportunity.
Yeah, that's I guess really why I left, because it felt like people were starting to shift their like anger from, you know, it was like, oh, I can't be mad at the Nelk boys anymore, so I'm going to be mad at these people who are benefiting from this project. And it was like, it's kind of going against the whole principle. Like, we're supposed to be a community, we're supposed to be like happy for each other, and there's nothing I could do. I don't run the project. I had no control over what was going on at Metacard. I was just trying my best to get my money's worth out of the project in any way I could. And I got these people that are all up in arms, and I'm like, why am I the scapegoat all of a sudden? But, you know.
Yeah, so I guess, you know, I mean, I've of course never met John or any of them. And so as someone who was involved in a situation that wasn't necessarily always ideal for you even, you did still walk out and like manage to have great relationships with them. So like on a personal level, like, do you think that they're bad people and their intentions from the start were to walk out with 23 million and do nothing? Or
no, I mean, knowing them, knowing John, knowing some of the guys in Nelk, like, no, there's no way they went into this with the intention of scamming their fans. The proof is in the last 10 years of what they've done. They love their fans more than any other creator online. That's why they have the ability to sell this merch out. That's why they have the power behind drinking Coronas and then translated that into Happy Dad. They care about their fans more than any other like creator online. And so I think that they're also, to their own fault, a little too ambitious. And so, I mean, selling alcohol is extremely hard. Creating an independent alcohol business is so hard, and they went out and did it. And so, like, to have that kind of ambition, you have to be a little crazy. And so I think that they had these wild dreams of having bars and gyms and hotels, and for whatever reason, it just didn't work out.
Now, ultimately, at this point, we have no idea how or why the Metacard project went down the way that it did. This lawsuit has really just started, but throughout the process, the internal Nelk team will definitely share a bit more about their own perspective. I mean, they'll kind of have to. So for now, the story does leave a bit open-ended, but as more information comes to light, we're definitely open to making a part 2. We did reach out to dozens of Metacard holders that are a part of this lawsuit, as well as the internal Nelk team, and weren't able to get anyone to do an on-the-record interview. But if you're watching and you are involved in this whole Metacard project, and you want to share your side of the story, definitely reach out in case we do a part 2. We really did like the addition of the interviews to the videos, so maybe you're not a Metacard holder, but you've got a cool story that you'd want told relative to the whole creator community. Also reach out. We're always excited to hear more video ideas. I did also want to shout out Underdog again. This is genuinely the first video we haven't lost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on, and it was a great time filming the entire challenge. But yeah, all in all, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. I don't know how to make an outro. See you next time.